Actually, you've talked about traveling. So let's move even out of Kenya.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Tell us about that and what would happen.
We would, I guess it's because of references, we would be asked to do worship seminars for a given church or fellowship or group of people. In Johannesburg, we went a few times because someone who used to minister here had started a church out there, and he used to have an annual conference. But what he wanted specifically, he was Nigerian who had been based in Kenya. His ministry was interesting. It was cross-cultural, not just to black South Africans, but to white. And so he wanted us to put together a team for his conference that had Kenyans, South Africans of every race as a melting pot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To illustrate exactly what he was preaching the whole time. So it was very interesting. We ran into some, God's musicians out there.
It's in their blood.
One guy walked in with his guitar and sounded exactly like Michael Smith. Beautiful. A flute player, some people singing in Zulu, and their voices are just outrageous. So we put together this multicultural team with choreography. That was a beautiful experience. So we went out there. We were asked to train some churches in Burundi. Language barrier, because we don't speak French.
Yep.
But we had a translator. But they are also incredible musicians. Case in point is Kidum. Remember Kidum?
Yes.
I first met Kidum because he was in a pop group here with Fabian from Congo and some other people. In fact, I had recorded 2 of their songs in the studio. I don't remember what they did with it.
Yeah.
That's when I first met Kidum. A really good musician. I remember him because he's from Burundi, although that's not where I met him. We also went out.
So just because
we did worship seminars there.
And now I want you to talk about the power of, the thing about music is that it has the power to transcend language.
It transcends language, race, class.
Exactly. All these things that you've talked about experiencing in South Africa and also Burundi.
Yeah.
Are there songs that you've written in a different language?
Not really. Kuvuna was, we knew it, by the way, it comes from the harvest is plenty, the laborers are few, pray to the Lord, send laborers to the field. That's exactly what it is. And it sounded to me so South African.
Yes.
That whole cry freedom thing. You need to watch that movie.
Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah.
And so that's why I asked for the Zulu translation. We've done a lot of songs in English and in Kiswahili. My wife being...
What are some of the ones that you've done in Swahili? Or even if it's not words, just melody-wise?
Psalm 23, for example. So that's from Psalm 23. It comes with vocals and things like that.
It even has that sound.
Yeah, it's the song. She wrote the melody and the words are there, and then it's a nice one. And she's done some in Kikuyu as well. Whatever. I can't. So she's done songs in it's mainly English, Swahili, or Kikuyu.
And for you, because it's very clear you're the instrumentalist.
Yeah.
How do you worship with just instruments?
Oh, you can. There's a psalm which says, praise him with the lute and the harp, praise him with the trumpet, with cymbals and tambourines. I forgot which psalm number that is. And then it goes on to say, let everything that has breath.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. And so you can worship through your instrument. I mean, just by allowing how do I put this? Allowing yourself to, put it this way, when someone preaches, or when someone maybe acts or sings, and you say, God speak through me. let this be your flow, or whatever the word is. In secular terms, they say, give me your vibes, you know.
Yeah, give me your vibes.
Yeah. And just let whatever comes. I know some of these songs that, the new songs that God is giving, come from there. And just see what happens. I'll give you an example of one. Nimevaa vazi la sifa, badala ya roho mzito, nitakuabudu Bwana, nakuabudu Bwana, nakuabudu Bwana. You know, so songs like that just flowed out of, expressing.
Are these some of the new ones?
Yeah, this is some of the new ones.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you at any point have you just recorded an instrumental album for yourself?
It's very interesting. The idea of doing instrumental albums became more solid when I felt more confident as an instrumentalist in my time in India. And I always excluded myself from being able to do it, listening to some of the jazz artists out there and this, oh God. But like I said a little earlier, we've been making inventory. I've made inventory. In fact, it's so interesting you say that, because I've made inventory literally of not all, but several instrumental and other songs. In African heritage, I had an opportunity to do a few of the instrumentals. But that was just a small sum. And I'm putting them together because now the technology at the fingertips sounds like what I'm hearing in my head. You know, the advances in Logic or Pro Tools and other software is now sounding the way I know I want to sound with the instrumentals. You know, okay, I play guitar, but I can execute a lead guitar passage better on the keyboard, or maybe call someone to play. You play a little bit of everything, but not the way you're hearing it.
Yes.
The technology allows it now. So I'm looking forward to do the instrumental song.
You remind me of Avatar, the movie. He got the script, but he had to wait 7 years for the technology to catch up so that he could execute it according to his vision.
That movie was kind of ahead of its time, huh?
It was. Yeah. Okay, so, but I'm sure there are some instrumentals that you have at least even packaged and sort of put out there.
Actually, no.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
The technology literally hadn't gotten there.
Well, no, it had. Okay, let's say that. It had a few years back, but my access to it without going to anybody else.
Okay.
And
the time has come now.
The time has come. They're very interesting. We have a song with that title.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, the technology and my access to it, to be able to sound exactly like what I'm hearing is now.
Just to jump into a different era, when we connected when I was a musician. In fact, I remember there's a gig you called me to play where I was on keys and rapping.
Was
very
that
weirdly
at Bapel?
Yes, at Baptist.
I remember that. Jazz called you. Yes. Don't blame me.
Sakaja, our senator.
He was on bass.
He was on bass.
I recorded their group, but it wasn't
Mission Driven.
Yes, they were very good.
Dan Number 8, who's a TV presenter now, was also in the group. He was in Mission Driven.
They were they were so good. They were so good.
And then now, later on again, we reconnected when you got me it's because of you that I started working at Fountain Media as head of TV and radio.
I did. I don't remember that.
You're the one. Yes, you are. You are the one who referred me and really put in a good words, so I can publicly say thank you.
I don't even remember that
because I was obsessed with making content. But the reason why I've brought out Fountain Media is because you are the one who was setting up their infrastructure in terms of the studio.
Yeah, they wanted to put I'm not an architect or anything like that, but whatever I was able to put together, we did a small audio. I actually liked it. I really liked that space. But I guess, the way things went, we were not able to continue.
So is that something that you started doing for people in terms of setting up studios? And
not really. I've given a lot of people advice on studios and on stage environments. And there's a really nice studio in Rongai a place called Beacon of Hope. It's a school for underprivileged children and things like that, run by a very, very nice couple, the Wazomes. And they wanted a recording studio. There is a fully fledged working recording studio up there that needs to be used. I'm plugging in for Beacon of Hope.
Yes.
It's really good. It's really nice.
And
it's a beautiful space.
You helped in setting that up.
Yeah, they had already done the shell, and they wanted the acoustics and the equipment and the installation to be done. Yeah, so we put that together.
Okay, and again, coming back to your son, of course, who now became producer extraordinaire.
Oh, jazz. Yeah.
One of my favorite songs off an album of this young girl who was in this huge group and was finally recording her first solo album. Karun.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you remember those keys that you played in that?
Yes,
That's my favorite song.
One song I love by her. Yeah.
That is my favorite Karun song.
Yes,
finally.
Yes, and I would imagine she was in a very reflective period of time then, because the words are very
powerful.
She's a good songwriter.
Can you remember it? Can you play it? Or?
Yes, I'm not going to try to sing it.
Okay, no problem.
Finally, I'm fearful. Finally, something like that. The interesting thing was the time signature was 9/4. It wasn't a 4/4. And every time she sang it, it came to a 9/4.
It all started in a simple moment when I stopped in my tracks and I decided to let the world do the work it's gonna do. 'Cause what will be, will be. For so long I was getting tired by myself, trying, thinking way too hard about it. And it's about time that I let myself go, and everything will fall into place, yeah. I think it is finally. I think it is finally. I think it is happening to me. I think it is finally, finally. My time has come. Finally, I am the one. Finally, I can be free. Finally, finally.
What?
Or a 4/4 and a 5/4. The beauty of odd time signatures is to make it sound natural.
Yes.
And I remember at a time in India, I said, I want to do odd time signatures and make it natural. You know, that was a nice song.
Okay.
It was a nice song.
So let me ask you, aside African heritage, is there, have you been in any other group?
While I was in African heritage, I moonlighted, so to speak, with a group called Epistrophe, not apostrophe, but Epistrophe. It was the group was a straight jazz group. Charles Allen was an African-American trumpeter, music teacher in Nairobi School. Kenro Oshidari was a Japanese working with the UN, and he played upright. And a drummer called George Monte, who was an unsung hero. He had done everything from ships to clubs, and he was an old hand. The guy could have 3 pieces of a drum and sound incredible. He was the drummer and I was the keyboard player. And we'd do a lot of gigs, you know, like in the UN and in you know, those kind of environments. And in restaurants like at the French Cultural Center, you know, those kind of people really liked this and, you know, some of these functions. And it was an absolutely, for me that was another learning, because it was so different from African heritage. Epistrophe, by the way, it was the name of a song by a jazz artist called Thelonious Monk. And we do stuff by, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, all this complete jazz stuff, and some of our own originals.
Can you play some of your own originals?
Oh gosh.
If you remember it, if you remember anything.
Yeah, there was one by Charles Allen that we had, what he called it, Mwanyota. Mwanyota was the name he gave his son. All of that, I can remember.
That's so good.
I'm off on that. But we do that, we do samba. Just happy Brazilian stuff. We do Monk around midnight. It's all trumpet and Oh, I'm messing it up. Mingus World, but very lyrical stuff, very quiet stuff, very happy samba stuff, very just traditional jazz. Because for me, that was an education. Kenro would come in with sheet music, like this is how my song goes, and you're like, okay.
But you could read sheet music.
I read, but I'm a slow reader. I play more by ear.
Yes.
Yeah, and we even did an album in Carl Anderson's studio at NPC. I don't know where the album. I should look for Kenro. He's probably in Tokyo somewhere. Now he's a regional UN something or the other.
Yeah.
Charles Allen, I understand, unfortunately passed on. George Monte is somewhere in Nairobi. We tried to get in touch. That was quite something.
How long was that season for?
Oh, probably 2 years.
What?
While I was with Heritage,
Yeah.
It was nice. It was nice.
You've talked about jazz, and in my mind, the musicians who I was under the same stable have come to mind. So first and foremost, you have to mention Aaron Rimbui.
Oh, Aaron popped out of nowhere. Where did I first meet Aaron? Through Pete again. Pete. Okay. Yes, Aaron.
Pete sounds like he was connected to this next generation.
Quite possibly. Pete used to do gospel concerts, and Aaron was first or second keyboards on one of his concerts. That's the first time I met him. Very laid back, very quiet, and I didn't really hear him much until he started a group called Four Winds.
With Kavudha.
Yes, even before that. Before the first Tuesdays or whatever.
First Fridays.
First Fridays. A group called Four Winds, with a drummer who is now a pastor in Mavuno. I don't know why he's not playing drums. I think you know his name, Jazz.
Henry Wamai.
Yes. And a bassist, Kenyan bassist, who is now in the US.
Alan Kongo.
and Aaron. And I was like, where did this boy come from? Absolutely incredible facility, just a raw, natural player. He says he never took lessons or anything. He just,
Exactly. In fact, when you said you play by ear, he's that's what popped by.
His ear is ridiculous. It's insane. Insane. His keyboard playing facility is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really.
I've got to talk again about now coming back to church. What would you say you have seen as the evolution of music within the church space? You've been there
in Kenya?
Yes, in Kenya.
One, the adoption into the mainstream of African music, of Kenyan homegrown music, and the genres and the styles. The slow acceptance of youthful exuberance in their expression of worship, in many charismatic type of churches, and some slightly formal ones. There used to be that divide between the old and the young. We don't do things this way, sing hymns type of things. And no, we got to jump, we got to dance. And in some churches, there is the dichotomy gap. The gap is slowly reducing. And I'm speaking so generally, because if you go to a different city, the story is different. But in Nairobi, there is a growing acceptance of the youth culture, partly because they are more than 70% of the population anyway. Partly because no church wants to lose its future or its people. Having said that, COVID has changed the whole story, but that's... Yes. So the acceptance of Kenyan music, of African music, in the broader mainstream that didn't see it as anything before, I think that's big. The introduction of technology and electronic instruments in a much greater way, simply because that's the way... that's the platform on which...
so you saw the bass guitar come to church. You saw the electric guitar come to church.
I still remember a family friend called Catherine Bathi, when I was in high school, introduced me around the time I told you about, or much earlier, about a Ugandan group who came. There was a gospel group with some people in it who included some very interesting people, including the famous lawyer Pharaoh Jamba. He's a guitarist and a singer. And that's the first time I saw guitars, bass guitars and drums in Nairobi Baptist Church, in the 70s, mid-70s or whatever. I said, wow, this is pretty cool. But of course that was youth church. The serious service still had the organ and all of that. And I don't decry the organ. My time in Lenana school was learning all those songs on the organ, and it's a very interesting background.
Also the introduction of what you're playing, like the Cog Trinity, the PSR.
Yeah, electronic music.
Yes, sequencing, playing drum beats on them.
Yes, in those days, it was either a piano or an organ or a drum set, and a lot of the kids in African Heritage, we had this Fender Rhodes piano, which took two of me to carry. And it was horrible. I love this stuff because you can do everything you want on one or two keyboards, or through the computer or whatever. Those days it was horrible.
She was the music director at ICC, serving, helping out. And that time, Jack Odongo was the main pianist
at ICC.
Yes, we used to meet at the Fungamano House, where now Mavuno Downtown meets. Jack Odongo was there. So this is us. Folding our arms.
That is piano
now. I thought I had reached with Jewish, Pastor Jewish. Here is it. So some of us are caught up between worshiping the Lord
and staring at his chords.
And that time there was no drum kit. This is another interesting story about ICC. Down the road from where we were meeting was Nairobi Chapel that I idolized with Kiama and all that. And we've done an album.
Mamlaka.
Yes, Mamlaka. They have full...
Oh, hold on. ICC was at Ufungamano House. So it's not ICC on Mombasa Road?
No. This was 90s. They were in Ufungamano House from 1989 or something. They used to meet at Silver Spring or something, I'm not sure. Sometimes at time.
But when you joined...
When I was joined, I was... let me not go to history. When I joined, it was at Ufungamano House.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
And I knew about them because they helped us with equipment, and we were doing our first Sing Africa concert in 97 at Kenyan National Theatre. The pastor there just said, I know a few of you guys, I don't know you, but here, have our equipment at Ufungamano House. And I said, this is a good church. My friends go there. But I was still going to Nairobi Chapel to see what Kiama is doing with Kina Koros and Chris Okana and Dennis Kwanda, who was playing the drums. But Nairobi Chapel had a full gear. And then down the road at Ufungamano House, there was only a piano. The only difference is that Jack Odongo was on a piano. So you don't care whether it's a drum kit or not. I mean, gosh. Yeah. And now next, the rhythm used to come from another keyboard. So that's the keyboard that now was set to do drums. So you literally play. So my bassist in my band, now I've got a band, which is another story. My bassist, Charles Langat, used to be in the worship team playing while Jack is doing his thing.
That's crazy.
So, those days,
Hold on, that is insane. Let me understand this. It's not, I know you need to say that. I need to just stop this because from a musical now, this is the musician in me getting a bit excited. Jack Odongo is playing keys.
Yes.
Like this, for example.
Yes.
And then there's a guy on another keyboard. But
yeah.
it's not the preset.
No, not preset.
It's not the preset that he just presses play. He's actually playing hi-hat.
Yeah, he's doing throughout the whole set.
That is insane.
Yeah, and we had the set of like 30, 40 minutes. And there's a season where we had this worship, this senior pastor who used to flow. He comes and says, I'm not preaching today, let's just sing. So lots of music. Yes, that guy used to be there.
That is crazy. For those who don't know, the C can be the kick.
The kick, yeah.
The D is the hi-hat.
Yeah.
So that was...
And that time, they were using a Roland D20.
Oh, man.
Roland D20. Do you know a group called Limit X?
Yeah. Who do I know a group called Limit X?
So Limit X, I'm sure...
Say a version of Limit X.
You can refer to your interview with Pete. So Limit X used to do their arrangements on D20. So that kind of Roland D20, the first albums, and I think Dr. Pete mentioned that in the interview that he did. So we had a keyboard like that at Daystar, at ICC, Mfungamano House. That's the one they used to play now. It was left for percussion.
That's insane.
Then, Jack Odongo is there. My life is in you, Lord. My hope is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. Is in you. Hey, I'll praise you with all of my heart. Oh,
that's crazy.
In our African Heritage Days, we were lugging equipment around like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
No, it's not for me.
Okay, I've got to ask this just as one or two last questions before we come to a closer. Yeah. And one of them is you've been a worship minister or I don't even want to call it gospel musician, but been a worship minister for years, for decades actually. What would you say to the new generation who's looking at you right now and watching this and thinking, what can you give them from your time that you feel is lacking now, or what can you encourage them from this time that they're doing?
Do as much as possible to develop your technical skills. By technical, I mean your knowledge of your chosen instrument, or if it's the voice, or if it's production, because some people, or doing sound, because there are so many roles nowadays in music, or doing lighting, or whatever it is. I know it's hard sometimes to get into the schools or to afford the education, but pick people's brains. Look for someone who can, show you the ropes. Read. You have one thing we didn't have: the internet. Oh my God! There's nothing you cannot learn from the internet, good and bad.
Yeah.
But really, there is so much there that has been broken down in forums and in podcasts that just.
they're watching this on the internet.
Yeah, there we go. just pick. The Bible says, the proverb says, the discerning heart seeks knowledge. So have a discerning heart. Seek knowledge. Learn as much as you can, whatever it takes. If you have access to an instrument, go through your scales, go through your foundations, because your scales are the foundation of everything that you play. Don't skip that step. You cannot run before you learn how to walk. You've never seen a baby go to the Olympics. So get your skills. Then get peripheral knowledge around what you are doing. If you are a worship leader, you're going to have to understand team dynamics. You're going to have to understand the psychology of people's relationships. You're going to have to learn how to forgive people, including yourself. You will make horrible mistakes. You're going to have to learn how to climb out of that and say, okay, let's press on. If you are a follower who may be more skillful than your leaders, you're going to have to learn humility. You're going to have to learn how you can contribute to the greater good of whatever endeavor or enterprise you're involved in, whether it's a choir presentation or a play or a building project or whatever it is people do. Get knowledge. And I say that easily now because the internet has changed the whole game for so many years, where you know you have pain in your heart. Pray that you are healed, because those things spill out in how you vie for position or for fame to compensate, or you run for money or adulation to fill in that gap that only God can fill. Allow yourself to understand that there will always be people much further ahead than you and much further behind. Mm-hmm. Don't be jealous of the ones in front, and don't despise and darau, as they say in Swahili, the ones behind you. Understand that there's a time and season for everything. And your time will come in the various aspects of your ability or skills. And when a moment has come, it will come whether it likes it or not. It's like labor pains. Mm-hmm. But before the labor, there must be incubation. So you need to understand that there are processes of incubation in every aspiration in life, and there are processes of manifestation. And everything has its time, everything has its season. I repeat, whatever you're good at, there are people who are not as good, and there are people who are much better. And finally, so that you are able to be or to do A, B, and C, there must be a reason beyond just that skill, a reason beyond just that ability. What kind of difference do you want to make? Kutisha watu, as they say, to impress people, or to impress upon people the fact that there's hope for life and for so much more. I can't close this without acknowledging the role my family has played. My wife and the boys, the 3 boys that I have, who are exceptional musicians. I'd go as far as to say, if I was asked to play or perform anywhere in the world, they would be my first choice band without hesitation. You know, I'm very proud of them, and I pray that in their own spheres of influence, they don't make the difference I did. They make a greater one as they move on.
I know you said the word close. First and foremost, I 100% agree with you about your kids. And I agree from a perspective of also having worked with them. And it's been a privilege to have worked with people who are younger and more skilled and the best at what they do at the time, and still perfecting that gift. We touched on just 2 African countries that you had gone to. We touched on South Africa, we did a bit of Burundi. But what I wanted to, I'm a believer that Africa is truly a solution provider to the world in this season.
It is. We visited the Philippines and where else? Yeah, the United States. Where else, Giles? A few other African countries, and what we found is that people are the same everywhere. The needs, the fears, the desires, the shortcomings are the same. But we also found that there is a brand that we have in Africa that you don't find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Whatever it's born of is the subject of a whole other sociological discussion. There is a brand, there is a uniqueness, there is an angle from which we approach things that is unique, and I think very, very, very much desired in almost any country or culture you care to go. The African, in a sense, has felt so downtrodden that he or she thinks they have nothing to give. But as they say, the finest wine is the one that has been pressed and thrown in the cold cellar or whatever, and incubated until it's forgotten. And I'm not a drinker of wine, but I know that people say, I'm going to bring out the 1820 vintage.
The good stuff.
We are the 1820 vintage. And I don't say this to be racial or political in any way, but there is a pedigree that we as Africans have because of our multicultural experience of the world. That is absolutely priceless. We have so much to offer, and when we stop fighting ourselves, maybe we'll be able to do it more efficiently.
I have to ask as we close that you close us with an instrumental prayer or blessing. Where, because actually, no, in fact, let me just ask this question. I do believe there's a prophetic power, or not prophetic, what am I trying to say? I believe that there's a message that can be a prophetic message that can be carried through music. I've seen it in South Africa, example, during the hardship, that they would sing songs that not just encouraged them, but prophetically spoke about when they would get out of the struggle. I've seen it in America when you watch the Martin Luther Kings and the struggle music, that they sang music that prophetically spoke over their lives and instilled hope. So when I'm asking you about to play, let's first just talk about the power of music from the prophetic perspective.
Music has the power to break through bone and marrow, so to speak. Music has the power to pierce into the heart of people much more than words or any other interplay could do. And music is not just a language of the arts, but it is a language of the spirit. And it's that deepness that calls into the deepness and the richness of the Spirit of God that then speaks to the spirit of man in ways that could not be articulated in any other way. It is a language that nobody learned, but everybody learned to love or hate. So strong is its impact. And therefore it speaks. And therefore it can be used to speak. When Saul was tormented, he didn't look for his superstars. He looked for that boy smelling of goat dung and grass and rain and mud, and said, where's that boy, that one, I want him. And the moment he struck his harp, his spirit was soothed. That's the classic example.
Okay. Take us away as we close this. First of all, let me just say thank you so much. It has been an absolute privilege to be hosted in your house. Thank you for the breakfast. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the vulnerability in your story. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you just for blessing us in this time. Yeah. Play away.
I'll just play whatever comes.
Okay. I love it.